Hi, this is Chris from barabove.com, and today we're going to learn how to make our own homemade liqueurs, so stay tuned. So for all of you that have been watching over the last few months at barabove.com, you'll remember a infusion video that we did for lemon vodka. So in that video, I actually mentioned the fact that we're going to take that product and move it forward and learn some new techniques with it. And that's what this video is going to be focused on today. We're actually going to take that lemon infusion and we're going to turn it into a lemon liqueur or limoncello. So for all of you that have done this before, you know that there's quite a few recipes out there. And so what we're going to be doing is actually going to be making limoncello with 3 different techniques and analyzing what the best technique is. So it's kind of a twofer video. You're going to learn how to make a homemade liqueur, and you're going to get some ideas about how to process or how to make the best type. So before we go into any of the techniques or information on making your own liqueurs, there is one thing I really do have to stress to all of you, and that is just because we know the information and can make an amazing liqueur doesn't make it legal to do so. Please check in with your local laws before even considering doing something, making a liqueur at home. And then this is especially as true for any place, any business that's going to be serving this to guests. You don't want to be breaking laws concerning alcohol. The penalties can be very severe. So, we're providing you with a lot of information here at barabove.com, and we really want to uplift all of us as an industry. Bartenders, mixologists, enthusiasts, cocktail creators. We want to be able to provide the best information out there. But it's up to you to look at your local laws to make sure that you're not breaking any of it. So the 3 techniques that I have out here for everyone are 3 of the techniques that came to my mind when thinking about making homemade liqueurs. So the first one here is an experiment that I've had in my head for a while now, and I don't think it's going to work, to be completely honest. I think it's going to fail, but I would like to test it out. So it is essentially just lemon infused vodka and sugar, and I'm thinking that alcohol is 60% water, so given enough time or energy, the sugar will dissolve into the solution and create a limoncello, and you're not going to get any evaporation, and you're not going to get of alcohol, and you're not going to get any dilution by adding water. So if it does work, it'll be the best. In my mind, I can see the results being the best possible results, for creating cocktails and preserving flavor. Now the second one here is one of the ways that I see online a lot on how to make your own liqueurs, and it is infused vodka plus adding simple syrup to it. The problem I have with this is that you're introducing water into the equation again. You're thinning out the mouthfeel, and you're kind of diluting the whole thing down a lot. So what I've done is actually created a 3-part sugar to 1 part water, extremely rich simple syrup. So I'm trying to minimize how much water I'm introducing into the solution here, and I'm going to see how that works out. I've not used this technique before, but this seems to be one of the favorites online, so I'd like to analyze it and see what we come up with. And the final one here is one that I've had a lot of success with in the past, and like I said, I don't want to introduce any more water to the equation, but what I want to do is create that richness and create a really cool rich mouthfeel to it. So what I've done in the past is actually add my sugar and my infusion to a pot and put it on a low heat just to incorporate all the ingredients together. And at a very low heat, the sugar will actually dissolve into the solution, so you're not adding any extra water to the equation. The one thing that you will lose is a little bit of alcohol vapor, but limoncello is typically served around 30% alcohol anyways, so you're almost kind of relying on a little bit of that burn off to happen for the limoncello. So we're going to analyze all 3 of these, and we're going to find out what our best results are going to be. All right, so we're just going to add our lemon infusion to this bottle with a 1/4 cup of sugar, and I'm adding 1 cup of lemon infusion to it. And then I'm just going to seal it and shake it like a Polaroid cello. And for all of you that don't know how that works, it goes like this. Just kidding. I won't. I'll spare you. Cool. Well, we'll let that settle. We're going to probably have to do this a couple times just to incorporate it and kind of keep it moving. But we'll check in on it from time to time and see how it's doing. So the next part of this is going to be putting the lemon infusion with the super rich simple syrup that we have here. And it's 3 parts sugar to 1 part water. There's a 1/4 cup of that sugar. And we're just going to put them together and give it a good couple stirs here. We're probably going to have to do this, go back and forth just to make sure that we're getting as much of the sugar out of this cup as possible. Get one of my mixing spoons here to help out. There we go. Perfect. And just going to give it a stir to incorporate all the ingredients together. Great. Now we're just going to let that settle for a few minutes here. So we're going to let these liqueurs settle in for a few minutes here, and we'll definitely come back for them. But in the meantime, we're going to heat up our lemon infusion and sugar on the stovetop. And when we get there, we're going to give you a few pointers and some safety tips on heating alcohol over an open flame. So what we have in a pan here is our alcohol and our sugar. And we're just going to bring this up to a very low heat. You don't want this thing boiling because alcohol actually vaporizes at a lower temperature than water. So, you know, you don't even want to get close to that. You just want to get the sugar dissolved into the solution. So some of the safety tips I have for you is when you're making your liqueurs, make sure they have a really high sidewall pan. If I was doing this for production in the restaurant, my pot would probably be a stock pot about this tall, and my alcohol would go up about, at the very most, about 1/3 of the way up. On this pan here, my alcohol level is about right there, so there's plenty of clearance. Once I turn the flame on, the alcohol will vaporize and start to move up. So the other thing is you want to clear the air above your infusion or your liqueurs as fast as possible. So what that means is have your hood on, blaring as high as possible just to evacuate all of the alcohol fumes, because it has happened to me that if your flame goes over the side of it, it will ignite the entire thing. And it won't explode, but it will burn. So the other thing I recommend is that you have a lid available, so that way if it does flare up on you, that you can just put the lid over the top, take it off the heat, and let it just kind of burn itself out of oxygen. So you don't no need to overreact and run through a kitchen with a burning pot of alcohol. You know, just keep your senses cool about you, and most importantly, just take the proper precautions in making sure that none of this ever happens. So let's go ahead and turn this on now, and we'll get started on this process. So now we have the alcohol on over a medium heat, and we're just going to bring it up a little bit, actually go a little bit higher. We're going to bring up the temperature a little bit, and just enough to make sure that the sugar dissolves in the pot. Once again, like I said, you don't want the solution boiling, because if the water starts to boil, that means all your alcohol is already evaporated. So you just want to bring it up a little bit until all of your sugar is dissolved. So now that we're done with the limoncello, I actually put them in the fridge overnight, and we're just going to make our way and taste through these. Definitely my favorite portion of the video, and we're just going to evaluate them to see which one had the best results. So this one here is the one I just shook with a little bit of sugar. This one here is the one I had with super rich simple syrup, and this is the one I heated lightly with a little bit of sugar and just to dissolve the sugar in the solution. So like I said, now we're going to go ahead and taste through these, and let's start with our first one here. So for all of you at home, cheers. Actually turned out really well. I'm kind of surprised actually. The sugar dissolved completely in the solution, which was the one thing I was really worried about. All I did was shake it, and like I said, there's enough water in there that actually dissolved all of the sugar. This is something that I'd be really happy serving at the bar. It's got the rich lemon flavor in there, and you can definitely taste a little bit of the alcohol, but it's a great product. I'd be really happy with that actually. So here's the second one, the one I added the rich symbol to. Also another great one. This one turned out to have a little bit more of a bitter note to it, which was, I think, more of a product of our infusion than anything. And definitely tastes a little bit more watered down, but the only way you would notice is by tasting them side by side. This is still a really good product, and something that I'd be okay with serving at the bar as well. Now let's taste the last one. This is the one I usually make, the one where I lightly boil and dissolve the sugar in. This one definitely had a little bit more of a rich, vibrant feel to it right in the beginning. Definitely carries a little bit more weight to it, and the flavor carries on just a little bit longer. But to be honest with you, tasting these side by side, at this point it's kind of really splitting hairs, you know. So if you wanted the best results, I still kind of think this is probably the best one. I'm still tasting the flavor. It's still kind of lingering a little bit longer than the rest. But to be completely honest, all three of them would work. So it's just a matter of how much time you want to put into your product. But for me, it's just literally a matter of splitting hairs. They're all really good. So I hope you enjoyed it. And now you have 3 different methods of making liqueurs under your belt. And I encourage you to try it yourself and see which one works out best for you and your style of cocktails. So until then, until next time, guys, have a great shift. Cheers. And I'm probably going to put these limoncellos away and probably give them away as Christmas gifts. But have a great shift, guys. Cheers. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, find us on Google+, or visit us at abarabove.com. And that's done. You know why? Because I didn't break the law. Breaking the law, breaking the law.